Jeff here again with Nance International HVAC Services out of Beaumont, Texas. Please subscribe. Today we're going to be covering Manitowoc ice machines in the sequence of operations. So we've got a small Manitowoc head mounted on this bin. We're going to fire it up here in just a second. We're going to go through what it does step by step. Now remember, when you're dealing with ice machines, the easiest way to troubleshoot these things is to watch the sequence of operations. Wherever it stops at and faults out, what happened immediately before that is typically what's wrong with it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and hit the start button on this thing. Now, on a Manitowoc ice machine, typically your sequence of operation and all your cleaning procedures are going to be located inside the inside panel. They're listed up at the top. Now the first thing it's going to do when it comes on is it's going to turn the water pump on. It's going to turn the dump valve on. So if it's got any water in the bin, it should dump it out during the cycle period. The next thing that's going to happen, this is going to occur for 45 seconds. The next thing that's going to happen is we're going to equalize pressure. We're going to turn on our harvest valve, which is going to allow the pressure to equalize out. We're going to turn on our contactor coil and our compressor. This is going to occur for 5 seconds. After that 5-second time period is up, we're going to swap over our refrigeration system startup, which is what just happened. We're in our equalization phase right now. Our harvest valve is still going to be on. Our contactor coil is going to be on. Our compressor is going to be on. Now this may cycle on and off. It's going to do it for about 5 seconds. We're going to swap into our next mode when it gets done with this, which is going to be our freeze sequence. Now that freeze sequence, when it occurs, it's going to turn off that harvest valve and it's going to let it go into refrigeration mode. Okay? We're going to pre-chill the plate inside this thing so it won't turn on the water pump until it's ran for about 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 45 seconds. And then it's going to turn on the water pump and start circulating water. From this point of the water circulation, it's going to use this piece up at the top, an ice thickness probe. Now this ice thickness probe, it conducts electricity using the water to ground. Okay? So once we built up enough ice on this plate, the water itself is going to provide the signal to tell it it's got enough ice built up to go into harvest mode. Once it goes into harvest mode, it's going to turn on that harvest valve. It's going to shut the water off for a few minutes. There's also on this machine, we've got two different types of plate removal techniques. We've got air and we've got mechanical. This is a Manitowoc. It uses the air. So if you look in the front of this plate, if I take this off, you're going to see two small holes. It's got an air pump inside it. It's actually going to produce air. When it goes in that harvest mode and that plate heats up, it's going to puff air behind it and release it from that plate and drop it. Now, this is not what Scotsman uses. Scotsman uses a mechanical device. It's actually got a plunger and a pin on the other side of it to physically push the ice off the plate. So if you've got ice sticking, that's going to be the first thing we're going to check, is that harvest device. Okay? Once we get to a point that we filled this bin up enough with ice, the next thing that's going to happen is this door is going to stay open. Now these doors have a little magnet in the corner over here. Once that magnet separates, it loses signal on the other side, which means the bin's full, the door's open. It's not going to come back on and run until we remove some ice from the machine, or the ice itself melts down to a point that door closes. Now we've gone into our freeze mode now and we've started circulating water, so this thing's going to take about 20 to 25 minutes on this first load before it drops. Typically after that first load, it's going to be about 12 to 15 minutes at the most, depending on what the temperature is inside the building. When we're removing the ice machine faceplate off of one of these, what we have to do, we're going to stick our hand in the middle of it. We're going to put our hand on one side and we're going to push, and then we're going to pull, and it should come out. If we don't push, we can break this plate and we have to get a replacement before we can run the machine. Okay? Here's the magnet I was talking about. They used to be glued on the inside, but now Manitowoc encapsulates them in plastic. This is the ice thickness probe I was talking about. Okay? This is just going to conduct water. Once it conducts water to this sensor, it sends it back to the board and it goes into harvest mode. Now we can adjust the thickness of our ice by screwing in or out on this screw. Okay? Should be approximately 1/8 inch thick. Each manufacturer's got its own recommended setting, so you have to follow what they're asking for. The other thing I wanted to note was these little holes in the plate. This is where it pushes the air out. There's one on each side on these Manitowocs. Now, if we're looking for our cleaning and sanitizing procedure, that's going to be this small chart on this side. It's going to give you a step-by-step process about how to pull this thing apart and clean it. Okay? Other than that, these are pretty simple machines. Always remember, the sequence of operation that's posted up at the top is going to tell you what's supposed to turn on when. We need to follow that. Whatever stops, whatever was directly before that is typically what's wrong with this thing. Okay? So that concludes our brief discussion on Manitowoc ice machines and their sequence of operation. Please hit the subscribe button and join us for the next video.